This works. We're gonna record on my phone today. Okay, so it is 3:06 p.m. We'll do roll real quick.
Yep.
We have Larry Klein,
Here.
Chappie Jones,
Here.
Manny Capello,
Here.
Nisa Flagger.
Here.
Mariko is on the phone right now and also in attendance.
And only listening.
And only listening. And we also have Jackie Guzman from City of Sunnyvale, Margaret Abacoga, and Andy Jordan.
Good.
Hello.
Perfect timing. Your timing is always so good. I wish I could do that. Just
So-
as roll calls.
Next up is the consent agenda. Any changes to the meeting minutes or the questions about the financials? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's 5 in favor. Okay, and then request for us to be at home on the new state housing laws.
So they're having an event on the state housing laws, and it will be for elected officials only. And they just want us to co-sponsor it with to have so that people will show up, and that they're not asking us to do anything except for me to send out emails and encourage people to attend. And I also made sure that they wouldn't throw any stones our way.
Best kind of co-sponsorship.
When is,
Yeah.
when is this again?
It is April 24th, 11 to 1. I don't know if you recall that prior to my arrival with the Cities Association, SV at Home, and the Cities Association started an elected officials roundtable that they would have, and those kind of have not been very well attended these days. And so this is kind of a,
No, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay.
So if that's okay with you guys, it's one of our priorities, and I thought it
think-
would probably be a good thing.
Will we get to have some say in the program?
They've already set the program. They're having Barbara Katz from Katz. She's one of the big kind of housing element people, San Mateo County. If you give me a second, I'll pull up her name. Yeah, so no, they're just asking us to try to get more folks there. Let's see. Oh, he doesn't say who it is. They're calling it a legislative briefing for South Bay elected officials. At some point, I did. Do you guys know the name Barbara Katz? Does that sound familiar? Cautz. I think
Hey.
I'm probably spelling it wrong.
No idea. So what's the?
They're just they're gonna go through the. It's Barbara. She's a partner with.
So she
Gold.
advocacy?
She's with Goldfarb Lippman Attorneys, and so I know that when we were talking about the Rena subregion, several people thought that we should talk to her because she's kind of one of the preeminent folks around housing element law. And so it's just going to be about the new housing legislation. So
So we don't need a motion or?
yeah, I think we do.
Yeah,
Okay.
it goes. So
If you
moved.
would like to.
And so you'll send out an email to our members just telling them about it, because that's what they really want.
That's really yeah.
But and the Housing Trust normally deals with, or SV at Home normally deals with Brown Act issues, if I remember.
Yeah,
They
this
did
is
at
an
least
education.
previously.
This is an.
I don't think.
Well, I don't know. I've been in a meeting before where they're.
Where they turned away the fourth person from a council to show up.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
when they broke Brown Act.
But
This
this
is
should.
for
But this should. But this
all
should be
elected
educational
Is it
and
only
not.
educational?
Yeah.
But it's only for elected officials, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that has.
You're
that,
allowed
that,
to attend,
that-
You're
right?
allowed.
Yeah.
I remember
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
Berman did that event,
Yeah.
and he looked into it too.
Yeah,
It's
I-
allowed. It's
They were doing them
As long as you don't
quarterly.
express your
Yeah.
opinion.
right.
Well, this is the whole. Yeah, we won't.
keep
Forget
touching
it.
my
We'll just
face.
continue
I
on.
know.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
It's
Chappie
not
made the
easy,
motion.
but there's a way to do it.
Yeah,
It doesn't
Chap-
automatically violate the Brown Act.
Chappie made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None opposed?
Abstaining.
Okay. Oh, abstain. And one abstention. Thank you. Okay. Next, member requests for committee assignments.
So it's in the packet. Should be in the packet. Oh, please don't tell me I forgot
I
it.
did not see it.
Oh, guys, I'm
I
sorry.
thought you were going to be bringing something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't we?
Is it on the,
Why don't
on the
we?
website?
No,
Mhm.
because I had the downloaded version from the website, so I thought. Oh wait,
Computer
no,
problem.
it's there.
Is it?
In
Yeah.
the packet?
Yeah, I went by
Where?
it.
I missed
It's in
it.
the. I just went on
Oh,
by
I
it.
went over it too. It is in the packet right
Yeah.
there, page number 16.
It looks too similar to one of the previous pages. Okay. Sorry, I have not reviewed this. I'll let the record
Oh,
show.
so we can turn off the.
Huh.
Did you hear
Chappie,
that?
Chappie doesn't want anyone sitting there.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's doing his social distancing.
Wow.
His
Oh my
social
God.
distancing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Wow.
just sat
So-
next to you. Should I move?
Larry clearly ignored it.
Now,
Wow.
You know, there
She's ostracized.
I was not that hard.
You can be
I was
up
not
here at
that
the front of the
hard.
table. Oh.
I think
Okay.
it's off, isn't it?
I know.
a fine line
Thought about it.
between
Just
just being safe and being offended.
So-
I showered this morning.
So I didn't. Okay. So we're on the
No one sneezed on you yet.
Policy.
It's allergies. It's
You guys are like little kids.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Well, that's what the coronavirus has made us do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Wash your
something-
hands, everyone,
Maybe it's
before
a
you
simple-
go
I
anywhere.
have to say, adults are worse than kids
Yeah.
with this.
Stop touching your face. You know,
I-
all
Which
the
is
things right
so
now.
hard to do.
Now
It
it's
is.
worse. Like
You notice it.
I'm
Yeah.
so conscious of it when I do it.
Mm.
Yes. Okay, so for the policy priorities for 2020. Sorry again for missing that meeting. There was an important meeting that
And you
happened,
won.
and
Oh,
the measure
thank
passed.
you.
So
Yay,
I'm glad we did.
congratulations.
Thank you, Jackie, and I'm glad we did that
yeah,
event.
pass
Anyway,
around, whoever needs it.
So not being at that meeting, how was the general? How did the board take that overall,
I
as
think,
far as ranking and?
You know, we narrowed it down to the 4, and then there were questions about, well, what does this mean? I think, in the end, we agreed that
fine.
whoever's on the committee
Mm-hmm.
will dictate what that looks like. Because,
Yes.
for example, housing, transportation, wildfire, there were so many ways you can go, and we didn't, when people were voting, they didn't clarify exactly what they were voting on.
That's fine.
So at the end of the day, we, I think the action was that whoever was on that committee got to dictate what they were bringing back to this group.
Okay.
So what were the 4 that were?
Well, I've got
selected?
5.
Well, at the
Okay,
meeting,
housing,
Chappie
transportation.
added remember the minimum
Grid.
wage.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I
good.
think
that's
Thank you for
right.
doing that.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Mhm.
Thank you
I
for
know.
joining me.
I thought it was already there.
Yeah.
It was there a while
I think
ago.
it was there.
Oh,
I thought it
Yeah,
was
no, I
on.
think it's just
That was the
Yeah.
previous meeting.
Yeah.
He revived it,
unless you wanted reliable grid
And
under
you got-
health and safety.
and you got 6
No.
people.
But I
No,
didn't
we
think
put
so.
that
Separate,
under,
yeah.
did we
It was
put
its
that
own.
under? Yeah.
Yeah.
And the numbers for each one, is that dots? Was that a dot exercise, or was that actual names?
Those were dots.
Okay, just checking.
Mm-hmm.
Just.
Oh, that's
And so when I give it to the board, I'll take off the ranking, I think, and then
Oh, the
let
number,
each,
yeah.
and then let each of the committees choose.
You might want to, maybe take off the numbers, but at least re-rank the issues in the order that they
Okay.
were. So it's like, okay, at least, not necessarily, it doesn't give actual numbers, but I do think,
It
Conveying-
prioritizes it somehow.
right, conveying to the committees that was kind of the order, and you can do whatever you want, but I do think losing that information completely is is
Okay.
not in our best interest.
Would you like to select a chair for each of the committees or a point person, which would be helpful
I'm still
probably?
waiting for which, the list of 4. I've got housing, transportation, minimum wage, fire safety,
Reliable grid,
reliable grid.
and then we had health
You
and
can look,
safety.
Copy next. There you go.
So I nominate that Larry and I are co-chairs.
I've got those.
for,
The minimum wage.
Yeah.
Regional minimum wage.
Oh, health and safety. Okay. Got it.
Transportation.
Can we volunteer other people, or does the chair have to be an executive board member?
Oh,
No, we
I
did a
think it
couple of
could
years
be-
ago. We made sure we had an executive board person be the point, just to try to. It
Wow.
it was helpful,
It was.
Yes.
but everybody's busy, so
I'll take transportation if nobody else wants it. I guess I'm the only.
Where's that at?
And Larry, if you're co-chair for
to wrangle with
the
Rod.
regional minimum wage,
Well,
I'm
he's
happy
on
to
every
take
single one of them.
housing. If you're
He needs something to
wanna
do.
do
Give him the
reliable.
grid.
I was
Reliable
actually,
grid.
I can do
Okay.
either one. The housing I'll be part of in any way, so I think that's, I think those are important issues for all of our cities.
I'll join health and safety.
Oh, cool.
Will you chair, you're chairing health and safety?
Sure. I'm trying to think, like, so do we have, yeah, it looks like we have a committee person on, exec committee on each one now. Oh, Margaret was there.
Margaret's here.
Okay,
Margaret's
she's here.
transportation.
Yeah,
She's
I don't.
Okay, so
you
You want me
yeah.
to chair health and safety?
That'd be great. And then, grid, I'd give that to Rod, but unless Larry would want it.
I'll be happy to take it.
You want reliable grid?
You're gonna take, that's all right.
I'll
Minimum wage?
work on minimum wage with Chappie and you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
You want to be a co-chair too?
Sure.
So Larry doesn't have to be a co-chair. It'll be
No,
Randy.
it'll be a tri-chair.
I thought we were all co-chairs.
Yes.
In
All
our
three of us.
eyes, you are.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah.
Do you want to establish target dates, or
No, these groups need to meet first.
Okay.
I think it's, well, I think ultimately we did that last year, but it was, I think, after the first, well, if the chair could try to figure out. The problem is, we don't know which topic will be highlighted or topics.
Mhm.
And so conceivably, it's more than one communication. We could immediately
Right.
put them in place, let the chair talk to the subgroup first and
Okay.
figure out what they're interested in. I think that's the reasonable thing, as opposed to, okay, we're going to do this by April or
Okay.
June, or, I think it makes more sense.
Okay.
Okay, so you're fine as far as
Yep,
that's
I'm good with that then.
Good. Tough.
Okay.
Discussion of the planning collaborative.
All right. Did we ever get?
An updated
Yeah.
agreement?
We did. I sent it to everybody in email yesterday. Do you want me to resend it?
No.
Or do you want me to go print that for everyone?
Yeah.
Well, if I have it in my
You sent it yesterday.
box.
Sorry, I should have sent everything in one document.
3 yesterday. Executive board. Oh, look at that.
Is it there?
Revised Santa Clara agreement. Yes.
Okay.
You did send it yesterday, and I never opened it.
Can I have my copy back then?
No,
Or do you want it? Do you want it?
I
Do you wanna
touched
use it?
But I did send
Oh,
it.
no, he touched it. Okay.
So last week, Chappie and Larry and who else?
I was on the
You were
call.
on the call.
Yeah.
Met with the consultants, and
Yep.
I was on the call.
Very tense conversation. A lot of screaming. back and forth. But we were able to.
Expected.
Yeah, we were able to hammer out a strategy and a path forward, but I haven't read the
Okay.
revised.
So it's
Agreement,
it's
so
6
maybe-
months instead of a year.
Same dollar amount.
Same dollar amount, 50,000. They were not. They did not want to do it for 12 months because they just said that nobody would be happy with the product.
Right, and we weren't asking them to do it, stretch it out for 12 months. We wanted them to front load the activity,
Right.
create specific milestones, and show value, and then at the same time we will go after grants and other sources of funding,
All right.
which I
Yes.
hope is.
Yes, it is.
Here.
It is in here.
So what are
Um,
the deliverables for the first 6 months? What are we asking for?
So here, here.
They were going to come back to us with that.
That's the magic question.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why I'm not
Okay.
answering the
So
question.
the bigger, so
because I don't know.
page 10 gives March tasks and
Oh, we're
April
giving them
tasks.
$50,000.
March, April, so page 10 and 11 give the actual tasks that they are proposing. The bigger question is, I didn't compare this to the previous one. Do you know what's changed here as far as, so they talk about meeting number 1, meeting number 2, 3, so we now are up to 5 meetings? Wait, 6 meetings.
Well, after September, that's where it becomes optional with further funding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they only got, so that's where it's, oh, yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
So,
Maintain a website, continue to build the serve.
but really, they'll determine the actual tasks and projects with either the housing staff or whoever attends, and so they want to make sure that it's relevant, and they'll work with our staff to
Right, so they
determine
were-
what the products are.
Right, they were going to do an initial survey with staff to determine what the specific
Correct.
deliverables were going to be.
And so, it hasn't, this is more back to the first draft that we had, because it was 6 months.
Right.
Then we tried to go to 12 months, and then that's when they said no, and so now we're back to 6 months.
Right. So if you look at March tasks, item number 2, conduct 3 to 5 interviews of cities in preparation for meeting number 1. That's when they'll do the initial scoping. Okay, and then schedule the first meeting, send out emails, blah, 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 April task. So you prepare meeting 1.
Actually, the one thing that wasn't caught here was, they were going to do a online survey or something of that nature, right? That not just one-on-one meetings with city staff, but they were going
Okay.
to at least try to poll the resident, or try to poll the other cities to get some idea of what their priorities were and what their needs were.
Okay.
It's like 3 to 5 interviews spread amongst 15 cities. Doesn't capture everybody for sure.
Okay, I can make that change.
Yeah, I think that's important.
So the
Is
online
it-
survey to staff or electeds or both groups?
It'll be staff.
Yeah, right,
Okay.
right. Trying to get
They
to
know.
what it's trying to get what we're, make it better for us as well as the city managers to say, what are we trying to get out of this collaborative to a large degree? And it's as opposed to 3 to 5 meetings, it's, it gives them a little bit more free flow and not just an interview style.
I like
So.
that, yeah. And then is the $50,000 tied to specific tasks, or all of this it's just lumped up into the 50,000? Okay, that's good.
Yes.
That's good. Okay.
We also, Rania has been has been helping me. We've been working together, trying to communicate with ABAG. And we did receive an email back from ABAG about kind of their support and their intent for these planning collaboratives. They've actually just hired the person from San Mateo County who was kind of the project manager for the collaborative, is now going to work at ABAG. And they would like to put a lot of money towards these efforts and also provide technical resources for jurisdictions who put together planning collaboratives. So they're very supportive, and they want to be helpful with us as we try to figure out how to do this. And
But
they
they still gotta show us the money. Though.
well, we have, but
It's something to be supported.
well, they would like
I
us
wanna
to
see the
apply.
check.
They would like us to apply for LEAP and REAP grants, but we have to have a bigger conversation about the LEAP and REAP grants with all of the cities. The LEAP grants are $4.8 million to all of the jurisdictions of Santa Clara County. So you could ask everybody to apply for it and take a percentage
Take
off.
a piece off the top.
And then there's the REAP, and they haven't figured out what the REAP is going to be for yet. But a piece of the REAP grants may be for planning collaboratives. They haven't quite figured that out.
And is it something where if we apply as a planning group, then the individual city can't apply? Cannot? That's
So
what the LEAP was,
you have
right?
so if the LEAP with the LEAP, if you do it jointly, you both have to apply together. So if the cities association could apply, from what I believe I understand that each of the cities would often also have to submit the same grant, so that
Okay.
you're showing that you're doing this
That we wanna
together.
do this. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, okay.
I haven't figured, but those applications are due soon. So
Well, isn't that one of the tasks for the consultant is to help
Is-
us with that?
yes,
Grant?
that is also one of the tasks.
Yes, it is.
So one of the things that I was wondering is when we have our May general membership meeting, if the planning collaborative should be the topic of part of the meeting, to be able to have conversation with all of our jurisdictions about how this might work. And we could have a bag there, and we could have our consultant there, and try to figure out and try to make a game plan for how we move forward in a.
Well, that's a harder thing. Trying to get consensus in that meeting where.
Well,
Yeah.
it's probably making a pitch for it, and it's having our consultants talk about. We maybe invite somebody from San Mateo County in, or some of our. We do have staff that work in Santa Clara County that used to work in San Mateo County, and they are really supportive and have been telling everyone that this is really good for us.
Right.
So, having them have a piece of presentation time or something. I mean, I'm sure there's a way that we could put together a program that we could do a pitch or a little bit, or also some interactive of how everybody wants it to work.
Now, one of the surprises that came from last week was, we talked about 21 elements and the Housing Trust was going to be implementing. It sounds like the Housing Trust is kind of.
The housing.
Oh,
They were going to do a whole ADU program.
yeah, and
They
that was
presented
outside
to
of
us last year.
and that was outside of us. They were doing
Yeah,
it
it's
because
outside of us.
Um,
That to me, was taking some of the best that San Mateo County is doing and immediately applying it to
So-
Santa Clara.
So they had a contract ready to go with the Housing Trust to finish. So San Mateo County and A Home for All has an ADU calculator. They have an ADU website where you can go on and you can learn about all of the jurisdictions, about all of their.
they might have
Ordinance
talked. They
codes
might
and
have talked
everything.
2 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think they came in and talked to us a couple of years ago,
Yeah,
but then.
they did.
So the Housing Trust was going to go ahead and grant the money to 21 Elements to include Santa Clara County in their online website and their ADU calculator. And then they had some staffing changes at Silicon Valley at the Housing Trust, and so it fell to the wayside. And so now if we're doing this again, it might be an opportune time to ask the Housing Trust if they're willing to take that up again. So. And it would be an easy, a nice, concrete piece of, a nice product for citizens,
Right.
residents.
Right. And I think that, if you talk about meeting our housing numbers, ADUs are one of the easiest ways our cities can get there, at the end of the day. And so whether or not, that's, I think, part of this. it's not part of the contract in the RENA, you know, the housing collaborative. But that being said, as we talked about other things in today's agenda, I think that does come back up, and whether or not we want to when we start talking about the May meeting, try to see what the housing trust commit to moving that forward, because it's like I don't want it to be part of our responsibility, especially since the housing trust was already had started down that path from a contract standpoint, and have a lot more money overall to deal with some of those issues. I don't know.
Well, it would be nice, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So it sounds like the May meeting is, what you're envisioning so far is more informational, and that, something for the city representatives to ponder, and then would a June meeting be when we actually need to make a decision? Cause when are the
Well, the applications are due, I think they're due at the end of June.
LEAP is July 1st.
Okay. Close.
Yeah, I don't know about REAP, but I
Okay.
remember them saying
REAP is later, and I think they don't have the REAP guidelines yet. Those are where they're trying to figure out if there'll be more collaboration.
Another option is you just start the process, develop the grant proposal in May, talk about it,
Yeah.
and just have it so that if anyone opposes it, we know up front, and we have a month to work it through. But at least give them something of this is what we're heading towards.
Actually,
Yeah,
a good idea.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's definitely try to plant the seeds,
Yep.
because you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
And Liz Gibbons at one of the ABAG meetings confirmed that we could take this approach. I mean, we may
Okay.
decide not to, but she had asked whether or not cities could work together.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, she did.
And then that way people feel like they still have some say in the process,
Right.
but at least there's something more crafted instead of
Okay.
just this nebulous, let's work together.
No, that sounds good. And then the other piece of the May meeting was I have invitations out to a few legislators, but
That's
we
our
can-
last chance for them to really, well, they could come to later meetings in the year.
They've
Right.
already said no, but
Should we start inviting Josh?
Yeah.
He is going to be our representative.
Yeah.
Do you want only our local folks?
Well, no, so this was,
no. Who would you like? Would you like David
Do you want
too?
David? I could ask David, because he's looking for ways to come down here, so.
Yeah.
no.
Especially
Yeah,
if
really.
we have something like tangible to show. Hey, we're making progress.
That's
Look
true.
at
That's
us.
actually,
Yay.
that's
Yeah.
actually a good idea, yeah.
Yeah.
But you already
That
have,
would be a
Not
good idea.
winter,
you already
but
have Bell and,
I can ask David.
Okay.
you already have Bell and Hill.
Bell and Hill, it's on their calendars.
Okay.
Whether
That's
they
possible.
can still
And Josh,
come.
I'm not kidding. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
Well, he should call my
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm adding David Chu.
we can start the brainwashing now.
Josh.
I'm wondering then if we should then, are we in dangerous territory if we invite all the prospective people who may sit in those seats? Like Bell's replacement?
I wouldn't,
Should we just stay clear?
Well,
Because we have
Invite-
anybody's welcome
Invited. It's open to the
come,
public.
right?
Yeah.
So if they want to come,
but Bell
they can.
and Hill will be talking.
Yeah.
Right.
The rest of them.
Not
will
as a
be-
representative.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, but just to attend, to listen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
fine.
open
Who are the
to
top vote
anybody.
getters for Bell's seat?
Cortese and Rebel.
Oh.
So 2 Dems. So that's not as clear.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. All right, so contract you guys are okay with? I'm gonna make the change about the we want everyone surveyed,
Yes.
right?
Online survey for all cities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that we, okay. And work on LEAP.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that I need to know there?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. And we don't, on the May general membership meeting, just, do we have a location yet?
I don't think so. Jackie, do you know? Location for
May?
the May meeting? Okay.
No?
I know Connie
Okay.
was looking at it.
Yeah, she may,
If you could check
have
with.
secured something, but I can check with her.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the?
May
14 sounds.
I thought it was 12, but maybe it's the 13th.
No, it's the 14th.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, May 14th.
Oh, yeah, it's my work day. Wonderful.
Okay, moving on. The organizational status. So I've had conversations, I think, with you individually. After we received the wonderful news that, and the letter that that they had made the request, a couple months later, we received a phone call from the Taxpayer Advocate's Office that went directly to our accountant saying that it hadn't been resolved. And we said, how can that be? We have a letter. And the system, their system shows that they sent us a letter and they did not change our status in the system. And so so we just waited. We talked to Congresswoman Eshu's office has been assisting us. So we went back to the Congresswoman Eshu's office and they made a bunch of phone calls. And so the IRS gives you, they take the request and then they give you a date 30 to 60 days later. So we just waited, and I didn't agendize it because we thought the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, and it's probably fine, is what. It is not fine. They did not change our status. They just sent us a letter, and they have now ruled against us, only in that they're not changing our status. They have left it open, and Congresswoman Eshu's office has requested that the attorneys be allowed, the counsel who, it was their head counsel who made the determination of the division or of this office, and we made the request that they talk to our accountant, and they will not talk to our accountant. And so now we're writing yet another letter, and then when you send a letter, they wait 30 to 60 days to respond to you. So when some of you started to arrive, I was on the phone with the accountant again saying, okay, write this other letter, and the letter will be sent via Congresswoman Eshu's office to make sure that it gets there. And they're just ignoring the point of the statute. It's very clear in the statute that you have to, if you receive your money from governments, there's all of these points. We fill all of them, and then we would be considered a government affiliate, because if the cities decide not to have the association doesn't exist. So we will try yet again to make our point. But at this point, I said to the accountant, shouldn't we just do something so that at least from this time forward, they can't come back? Because if they say no, then we still have the liability in the past. No matter if we get rid of the association, whether we start a new one, the liability could be there. So I asked the accountant, like, what should we form? Should we just form a 501c6 or a JPA? And so that was when everybody started to walk in, that I was asking him what he thought. So he's looking that up, and he says, yes, I think we should just do that as a safety, so that at least we have time certain forward. And so that I just wanted to make sure that let you know that we're still trying to fix it.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare that just never ends.
This was your task, Manny.
Yeah.
You were supposed to post.
Well, we thought it was done.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
so
it
now
sounded like
now-
it was done. Yeah.
It was.
here it was solved.
Now it's your turn, Larry.
That's true. So I got what? Nine more months to go, and then
That's
just pass it.
Yeah.
So it's not. So does anybody have an opinion about what kind of organization you'd like to be?
Fun one.
Well, we'll wait for them to come back to say if we have both options. Because
Yeah.
they may come back and say
Yes.
they recommend the JPA over the.
Well, JPA would be more
Subsection C.
involved, right?
Well, I've never formed a JPA. What do you think, Jackie? Didn't you help with?
Clean energy.
It just
Clean
sounds-
energy?
Sounds like
Yeah.
a lot
It is a lot.
for.
It
15
really depends
cities.
on what actions you're gonna take. I think a JPA makes more sense for kind of something that is more complex.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that you necessarily need to go through that hurdle for this, but I would certainly talk to your accountant and then does this group have an advisor from the legal perspective?
That's our next
Yeah, so
conversation.
that was my first
I
question.
would certainly volunteer one of the cities to connect with one of the city attorneys.
So the problem is we keep going down this road. We're not the client of any of the cities, and so the
Yeah,
attorneys
they don't
won't
wanna take
talk to
that
it. It's
part of it.
So I do have. I have been working with an attorney for the roundtable, and then I was given a name of somebody who's a little more local.
Is it
Another
like
attorney.
they literally won't talk to you, or they can't give you legal advice?
They can't give us legal advice because we're not their client, and San Jose helped with the planning collaborative, or when it was Arena subregion, but it still was really tricky because we're not the client.
Yeah.
I guess I was kind of the client.
You were the client,
Right.
so
Everywhere.
I was working with the attorney, and then we had to keep because they have the focus of San Jose, and then Chappie would
Right.
have to come in and say no, but we're doing this for the cities association. So it took a little longer.
Yeah.
So
So did the accountant tell you what options to look at?
well, so previously a few years ago we had hired an attorney. And we have since parted ways with that attorney. And the options, JPA was one of them. Filing for a 501c something was another. Our bylaws will probably need to be changed as well. So we did have options of about 6 different ways we could go. But this is a new accountant. Well, we've been working with this accountant for a couple of years. So I just asked him to advise on what he believed would be the best thing for us to do at this point.
And he narrowed
So-
it down to JPA or 501c6.
He wasn't. He said he was mulling that over
Oh,
for
okay.
us. But I would like to have a something next month to say we're doing this because it's gone on too
and
long.
I would imagine that doing a 501 is going to be faster than doing a JPA. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you do a JPA, you have to get the board of every single one
Yes.
of the cities
Yes.
to sign on to an agreement.
Yes.
And whenever you want to change that agreement, you're going to have to go.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it
through
opens
that.
it up where people are going to show up to the meetings and
Yeah,
question,
why are we
what
doing
is the
that?
Cities Association?
Yeah.
What role do they play?
501c.
Why are we contributing money to them?
Right,
You
yes.
know how
Well,
it goes.
but the odd thing is that because we're a city
Yes.
selection committee, I mean that's in the government code that we do. You know, it's just
But some don't
Yes,
seem to
yes.
know that, as we've discovered. So,
Right.
yeah.
right.
That would
Okay.
be my advice. The 501 route is going to be faster.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And I'd love to hear from the accountant the pros and cons, being a quasi-public entity, of going the 501c6 route versus JPA or anything
Okay.
else.
You know, it doesn't matter if we're 501 whatever. We're still Brown acted because our money comes from
Taxpayers.
yeah. So
And we're all elected, so.
yeah. So I'm sorry.
Fine.
It's a big bummer, let me
Not
tell
your
you.
right.
You have 9 months.
Yeah, just slow play this until next year.
Yeah, Marika's
It is amazing, isn't it?
That's
But at least
contrary
we're
to
trying-
When you said what kind of organization, I said fun. That's not fun.
Well, you can put in your new bylaws.
There you
Next
go.
year, yeah.
There you go.
It must be a fun conversation.
All I know is I hope it's resolved before the next person
Yeah.
after.
That's what everybody
Yeah,
keeps
good
saying.
luck. Good luck on that
It's
one.
a gift. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Okay.
Oh,
Budget.
Okay, so I sent everybody an email with. Did you find?
my.
It's, yeah, I'm sorry, it's not as
No,
pretty as you would like
no,
it.
it's
So
fine.
if you go down. Oh wait. there.
Oh, okay.
I've added some extra things, but I didn't do total cost because I feel like I need direction from you guys.
Yep.
Okay.
Is it in the packet?
So no, I emailed you this
Yes.
morning, right before the meeting,
Oh, I mean,
and it's not in the packet because we've been
not.
working.
and it's
It's
not on the
not- it's not
website
in-
either?
It's not.
No,
No.
it looks like this. It says budget prep. It's an Excel sheet.
Yeah, I can't.
You can't open that? Here, I can open it on mine and you can
Or
look.
It looks like this.
Then I gotta get close to you.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
get it. Do you mind just resending?
Yeah, you
can
didn't
you
get
send
it?
Actually, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Really?
Can we create a new category, call it like super micro?
Hold
City?
on, maybe I.
Oh,
Oh, it didn't
Super
send.
micros.
Hold on.
super
And just,
micro
and
city.
just charge them $2,000 and just call
The
it.
Monte
right?
Sereno
Yeah.
city, yes, or town or whatever they call
Okay, I
it.
just sent
They're a
it.
city.
village.
Are they a city?
We're in the town.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh,
have-
really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, got it.
Do you want to look at it on my
Got it.
device,
I mean,
Manny?
unless, I brought my device.
No,
if
let me
you
see
want
what
to send
if I can find it.
I just sent it.
Oh, okay, I got
Alright.
it now.
Okay.
So last year, the budget was, when you approved the budget last year, the board did, the motion was made that the budget only increase for the next 3 years based on CPIW is what the recommendation was.
What's the W for CPIW?
It's like the area. So I think we're like in the Oakland, San Jose.
Okay.
And so,
something
and so
area.
right now it's 2.5 or something.
Yeah.
Last year it was 3.
3.5.
Yeah.
So Andy and I met and talked over the budget, and I guess I wanted to provide my perspective and some thoughts. So, I was on this organization almost 10 years ago now, and so it's been great to come back and see how things have changed here. I was actually happy and pleasantly surprised to see how much more active this organization has become. And the addition of like the airport roundtable and now the planning collaborative is much more than frankly we did way back then. And I came in at a time when it was actually on the way to, there was a question of whether to continue it. We
really?
did, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
We
know that.
did, and that was actually Sam Licardo was there with me and that group. We revived it, I'd like to say, by working on things like minimum wage and actually that was after, but the big one like clean energy, single-use plastic bags, so forth. But our big events were really just the dinner and the general meeting, I would say, and then our monthly meetings. So now seeing how much more there's being done, which is great, I guess I felt like I wanted to have this conversation about what our direction should be moving forward, and we can stay status quo. But I will say, if that's the case, I think there's already a challenge in terms of workload. Or do we really want to say, I'm going to say it, a legit organization? And when I think, what is a legit organization comprised of? Like, I think we just really have to clean up and get our administrative, stuff together. And if we compare ourselves to, like, clean energy or these other JPAs, but anything that has to do with all of us, I think we really have to look at legal counsel and having someone regularly, I don't know if they need to come to the meetings, but someone we can call upon, because we have been challenged in the past, and I think we will continue to be challenged. I'm glad we have an accountant, but I also think we need to consider, do we need more resources in terms of staffing too? Having one person is doing everything is a lot, like, and I think we're getting to the point where we need more staffing. I'll say just, being the LAC chair last year, that was a lot of work. And it was a lot for Andy, and she couldn't do it, frankly. I tried, but I'm being honest, I got a lot going on in Mountain View, so I didn't feel that we were really adequately keeping up with everything. So that's my pitch, or I guess my pitch is, or my request is that, can we discuss this about where we want to go? Do we want to become more ramp up, or do we want to stay status quo? Which I'll say will be a struggle if we're, with what we have now. I think we would actually have to ramp down, and that's the question that I'm posing to all of you. I thought this was a great opportunity to have this discussion in light of the request to revisit membership dues, and how we structure that as well. And on that one too, I think what I've learned is we need to do a better pitch on what we offer, because I spoke with another member of the Los Altos Hills Council. It's like, hey, what's going on? And I guess they question what we do. And when I told them, well, we started Silicon Valley Clean Energy, essentially. He didn't know that. So, and I get that when, people change over, so they don't know the history, but I think we need to do a better job of explaining that as well. So, so that's all kind of a lot, I guess, but in light of that, Andy started this draft of a budget for this coming year, and then we added some categories that I guess are the questions we have in terms of if you go down the admin, legal, resources. I'm thinking, we don't need someone full time, but maybe a few hours a week just to help with getting minutes and whatnot out. And then legal, I really do think we need to have someone, legal counsel, in light of the fact that we can't really rely on a city attorney, that we should have our own legal counsel, and maybe they can also help us get legitimized by the IRS. So that was my request, is that we talk about adding these extra resources at this time.
And if you guys are looking at the spreadsheet, the budget versus actuals is exported from our QuickBooks, but the bookkeeper who's been helping me try to clean it up, we inactivated all these old accounts, because we've had the same QuickBooks accounts for 26 years. And so there's a lot of old expenditure things in it. So we've been trying to clean that up. And then the budgets that previously were passed were extremely detailed, and because they were so detailed, I could never make any changes, because I actually don't really have very much spending authority at all. I think it's like $200 or something. Mm-hmm. So when we adopted a budget in 2019 and 20, we made it more general, so that there were off expenses. I had a little leeway in there to pay for things versus coming back to you all the time for $50 or $100 or so. That is why it's a little simpler budget.
Right. And we put intern in there last year, right?
We put in priorities for you that could have been used, and we haven't utilized that yet. We also have some extra money in office expenses, because I have a lot of files and historical documents that need to be scanned or something, and I haven't had time I have to pay a company or somebody to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Andy,
yes.
The round table, how much time are you spending there with that? Is it a lot? Because the initial idea was that you would just help get it started,
yes,
and then you wouldn't attend any of the meetings. They would just run on their own. They would come to us with a report from time to time, and maybe with some issues that they may face.
So we are still I am still helping with the roundtable. I don't. I tried to back off and get off of their calls. When I backed off, costs increased substantially to our consultant. Mm-hmm. The roundtable really needs to, at this point, I've met with staff from various cities, and we've been looking at their budget, trying to figure out a better way to operate. And they really need to hire at least a half-time person, and then because that person could be billed cheaper than what the consultant is. So one idea is that maybe we hire a person and it could be half-time roundtable, half-time cities association.
Now, when you say we hire,
hire.
You know, I think that's where we get into the problem in terms of this escalating need for funding. Is when we hire or we fully engage. Again, is there a possibility of pulling you out of it? And again, and their costs are covered by the cities that are participating in this, so it's not coming out of our budget.
So we can pull out when they are. We wrote the bylaws and the MOU that we would set them up and offer their initial staffing. So we need to have them, encourage them to help them to take it over.
And if they need to hire somebody, then they hire them. I wouldn't want to engage in us hiring or us being involved in the hiring of that.
But right now it says that the cities association is the project manager.
Yeah.
When is that? Is there
Well,
a termination date?
they just had they just approved, per their bylaws, a funding amount, and then the next month they would approve the funding. So they have to give notice so that they can give notice to all their jurisdictions. And so we've given notice, and they will then vote on it at the next month. But the roundtable members, they want it staffed differently as well. And so somebody has to help them figure that out. And so there's staff from the county, Mountain View, and Palo Alto, who have been in those discussions with me, of trying to figure out how we can change the staffing that would be more economical, and also try to push it away from us.
Has the round table been effective? No,
it's not.
It serves the purpose.
Okay.
Yeah,
It does.
That's a
It's
great
gonna.
way of putting it.
It does. It is.
Yeah.
It is the only way for residents and for our cities to talk to the FAA.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is the only way. You
And
can't-
that is happening.
Yes.
It is happening.
Okay.
The FAA comes.
Oh yeah.
We haven't been successful at getting both of the airports there, but it serves its purpose that way. But it has been a very difficult and messy process. You're starting a new organization. You have a very educated, persistent constituents who are not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And you have all of these jurisdictions who have competing interests, who have to learn to work together, and recognizing that they're really there just so a conversation can happen with the FAA. And so nobody really, the members don't really trust each other.
Right. I mean, I've heard other things about,
It's a very difficult and messy process. SFO said that it would be, they warned us it would be difficult.
And as a group, are we being effective with the FAA? Like, are we?
Well, they've finally adopted the strategic plan and a work plan, and so they're making process. They just adopted a committee structure. They're going to work on a lot of legislation. So it's a slow
Working its
and
way.
Okay.
Logistically, if we wanted to separate the two, what do we have to do? Do we have to, is it simply a motion by cities association to say you guys are on your own now?
Well, they're on their own now. This is really just having you.
They have to have somebody that can manage the contract, and that's what I am doing. I manage a contract, and they don't because we set it up with just an MOU because we didn't know if it would last. They don't have a organization structure either.
Oh, so we're the fiscal agent too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Could
As
we,
far-
Could we set an end date on this?
Of course you can.
On the round
Oh,
whole
of,
thing.
could,
I mean,
could
on
you
the
set
whole
an end
thing,
date?
On
No,
the
no,
round
it was
table itself.
the round, well, the
I mean,
round,
we established it and created the MOU.
it was,
And so
it
could
says
we-
it's a.
Could we dissolve it?
Any city can come, any city can leave.
Yeah,
But
but
it's-
I'm saying dissolve it
It's
entirely.
completely,
Just say,
yeah.
you know, we're gonna continue this for X amount of time, whatever it may be, a year or whatever, at which point then it ends. And
So I think the bylaws that everyone adopted in the MOU say they created a permanent body.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Really, that's
Oh.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
a permanent,
But-
we created a permanent body of them.
Yes, of
But
them.
we can,
But the-
and we can have a termination date of
Take
when we
ourselves
transition
out.
things over.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they're not a standalone organization. It doesn't. I mean, it's
Correct.
Correct.
They're not.
Correct.
They're
But, so in
Not a
essence,
standalone.
we
They would
are.
have
we
their
are-
own.
They have their own
are.
bylaws, but they're not
No, right,
funded.
you can
They
have
don't have a
so-
funding
They
don't
structure.
have
or
So
anything.
the other
They
thing
don't
that
have
was,
staff,
the other,
really.
what
They
was,
have
what was
consultants,
hoped
you know.
was that the airports would join. And I mean, San Francisco has told us that they would like to join, and they would also contribute financially. And then there's been a brief moment where there's been discussion of a regional roundtable, and the FAA and SFO have been discussing it. But now all of a sudden they've gone quiet on the topic, and actually a regional roundtable would probably be the best result, because there is only one airspace, and they would invite San Jose, Oakland, and San Francisco. But San Francisco Airport said their roundtable would not go away; that would still exist. So, and the FAA.
Is it staff from SFO that run that in terms of the function of overseeing consultants and, you know,
No,
contributions and
it's
payments?
the
and-
county,
Oh.
the
Okay.
That's
San
what I was-
Mateo County.
Yes.
So it is funded.
Oh.
SFO Roundtable is funded by SFO
should be the county.
primarily,
County staff
It
run
should be the yeah.
and the county staff run it. But they are also having discussions right now about changing how they staff it as well. So they had a long time. They had a half planner that worked in the county planning department, and then half time he was with the roundtable, and then they also had an admin, and then they have consultants. Now they have somebody in the supervisor's office is staffing it because the person who is administering the roundtable, he has a new job, and so they're kind of going through some changes as well.
So can I pick up on Manny's question and looping back to what I think Margaret was trying to get us to talk about,
Yeah, it was
where
good.
and I completely understand and I support what you're saying. It's for us to get to the point where, at least for me, where we support this increased budget. Because remember, what triggered this was one entity saying they wanted to pay less. And so as we look at this, if we're thinking, no, we actually need to go in a different direction based on what we know and what value we know we add to the community, I feel like these are the types of questions we would need to ask ourselves to justify it. What are we really doing? You know, how much time and resources does it require? Are there things we're doing that we really don't need to do? E.g., the roundtable. Like, I feel like that's the discussion before we can answer a lot of Margaret's questions.
And the other question is, what is the objective?
What is the
associated with
objective?
this?
Yes.
Because going in, many of us felt that it was to appease our residents,
For the airport.
right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, many of us felt that we realized that the FAA wasn't going to change anything, and that horse trading in terms of
Right.
changing a flight path here that affects a different group of people versus what's going on currently would be, sure, some of that stuff's going to go on, but it's not going to resolve the problem, and therefore, it is what it is. And so the objective needs to be clear. right? Are we doing this because we really truly think that we can make a difference in terms of quality of life for residents in our regions? Or is this simply to just be able to respond to our residents when they come in and complain about the airport noise, that we've got a round table and they're working on it?
But is that our decision to justify, or is it theirs?
The
Because it
round
seems like
table
The
group.
round table should
Right.
be having that discussion, and if they feel like they have merit and value, then they need to step up and start, taking on some more administrative responsibilities.
Yeah.
From the long-term
Yeah.
goals, you know, they were, one of their goals was to change policy, you know, and as far as next gen is concerned and spreading out and whether or not the FAA would agree with that, because that's the kind of the core of a lot of the issues in our community. They haven't gotten to that task yet, is part of the issue.
They're getting there now.
So
Sounds like
I
it.
think, yeah.
They're focusing more on legislation. It's what I've heard, and that's I think that is the best path.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's worth another year at least, and then we can decide. And I think you're right. There could very well be an end date to it, or
Is
we're
there
sa-
some-
we
or
can
transition,
say-
Is there
to
a question
something
or a
else.
direction that you are asking of me?
Well,
What you would
again,
like
I'm
me
just
to
trying
look into?
I'm trying to address
Exactly.
the question as to whether we can afford
Yes.
your time in this effort. 'Cause
So-
you're being
It's getting a
pulled in
full
many different
scope of
directions.
what we're doing as an organization to figure
Right.
out, because we have to justify. We need-
Yeah.
When you say that you weren't when you basically took a step back, what wasn't getting done, or what was the additional cost that the contractors
Well,
had to
I stopped. They do check-in calls a lot, and so I participated in all of them, and I am back on some of them again, just to because we were looking at the cost and all the time, and trying to. I was looking at there must be a better way to fund this, because the facilitator is he is fulfilling what we've asked him to do, but it has taken up more time in facilitation than doing the technical work. But part of that is just the beast of having a new organization and trying to figure out how to stand it up. Had some issues. I mean, we had a strategic plan and a work plan that a draft was done by our consultant, because he's written many of them, and we thought that we wanted to be aligned with SFO so we could work better with them, but our members created a committee and they started over, so that took like 4 or 5 months. So and then the consultant has to look at it again. So we've just spent more time, and he's expensive on facilitation. So
As far as your time, how much are we talking about per month that the round table is utilizing your time?
well, on that one day a month that they meet, I am there with them. The week before I get on the phone. Yeah. It's a bit of time. I would
10 hours, 15 hours?
15.
Per month.
No, maybe so. Well, it depends on the week, but I get a lot of calls.
But average, some months obviously more than others, but average, would you say about 15 hours a month?
Mm-hmm.
Be a good number?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about 10% of your time,
More than that.
more than that.
And then going back to the bylaws, so it's written in the bylaws that the goal was for the roundtable to transition out and be a
Yes.
standalone entity that's self-supporting and self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't put in the.
But
But we didn't put
We
it
didn't put
in
a
the
timeline.
by when, right?
And they're not there
Damn,
yet.
that
Well,
was-
they were working on
That was the
bylaws
yeah.
for a good
Yeah,
Lesson learned.
so now
8
we
months,
can redo
10
it.
months.
Huh?
Mhm.
Would that have to go to all
Yeah,
the
I'm with
cities?
Manny.
Would it have to go to all cities?
We need to have,
An end date.
Rip the
Yeah.
Band-Aid.
answer.
Okay.
Well,
How
that's
do we do
one of the
that?
There's not a motion
Larry?
for that.
Gradual, we could give an end date.
What
We
you wanna
could
call
do a
the congressional
transition
office?
I
period.
feel kind
So
of
we can
hesitant
say
to throw
6
out a date
months.
to a city
Yeah.
that's not actually
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
part of it. So I kinda
exactly.
don't want
No, I think that
I
there's
think it's
value.
pretty
I think,
loud. No, I think that the message will be heard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the bigger issue is, it's like seeing progress. I think from that standpoint, that's been, I think, the hardest thing for all these things is, it's been too long working on bylaws and structure and finally moving on to actually getting something done. Conceivably, from my standpoint, I don't want to see a horizon unless we see if this starts being successful. If 6 months from now, 10 months from now, under Mariko's responsibility.
See, Los Gatos is not in the round table.
I know.
So it's easy for me to say.
I understand, but
But I
I
am curious, for cities that are in, so I'm assuming this budgetary request is going back to the cities that are in, right? So are you asking the same questions as you approve the budget for?
So as an
question.
example,
Yeah.
I was invited to go to the Cupertino
Yeah.
City Council meeting in a few weeks because they're going to put it on their agenda and
to discuss.
to discuss, but I don't, the mayor is not, Mayor Scharf is not in favor of continuing with the roundtable.
So Mary Lynn is our representative, and she gives us reports at every meeting, and we feel that the amount of money that we're putting into this thing is relatively small, and therefore it's fine. Even though we recognize its purpose and such, and we can justify it among ourselves, but that's just us.
Right, but if that cost increased because now you had to have a staff person dedicated to it, I guess if you're looking at the true cost of this roundtable, taking away cities association, I think that's a discussion for the member cities. Is it worthwhile? And I don't think we need to justify that.
Right.
I think it's the member cities that are paying.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's important, as well as the concept of whether or not any of the airports actually help fund this. And this is the big difference between the San Francisco roundtable and ours.
Yeah.
SFO pays for the majority of their funding, and the cities are there as representatives of their cities.
So the original proposal we received from the congressional offices was requesting San Jose to fund the roundtable. And that just didn't make any sense because 85% of the issues are with San Francisco.
Right.
So
Yeah.
thought we were being good to San Jose there.
I think your approach is
So-
spot on in terms of we get out of it whatever additional costs that they incur as a result of that. They'll have to make the decision as to whether they want to incur it or not. I'm sure they will, because even so, it's such a small amount of money
Right.
that it really doesn't make a difference in
The
our budget.
bigger-
we don't see it. It's a blip, type
Yeah,
of thing.
that's
so it's
how
no
I
big deal.
feel.
But so then I think for our current budget, or the proposed budget, then I think we need to identify that Andy has a finite amount of time.
Yes,
And beyond that, that's it. That's
Yes.
it.
that makes total
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
And for those members that are those people, those cities that aren't part of that, just keep in mind that the dissolution of this means that all these people will now show up at those cities that
Yes.
have an airport
Right.
and the airport meetings. This came as a result of SJC's issues.
Change.
I like how he looks just like one
So, from a funding standpoint, we could send all the people back to SJC in San Jose.
Oh, that's really
And
nice, right.
let that
It's an
continue.
outlet.
Because at least now it is. It's a forum for all the cities. Conceivably, it's FAA being active in trying to make viable changes to what's policies to make sure that cities aren't being as, certain areas of cities aren't being as well as impacted.
Well, when we talk about like the original purpose of this organization, When I first joined, I thought the purpose was to pick on San Jose.
No.
Now it's been confirmed.
Yeah. Case in point.
Case in point. No. But that was one of the reasons why this began.
Now you're gonna continue.
Right.
But
To
can
pick
I-
on San Jose. Oh wait, that's right. Yeah.
We'll hug it out.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it
A couple
will. But
months.
can I just add, because sometimes I'm copied on the emails to Anita Enander, who's our representative on the roundtable, where residents are asking questions. And so one thing I think we need to be aware of, it's going to get to the point where residents are also frustrated that the roundtable isn't doing anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's one thing now we can
Yes.
send them to this roundtable body, they're working on it, but where they'll come back to the councils
Right, we
and
need
say,
progress.
They're not doing anything, we need you guys to step back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing about seeing
You gotta be able to show
incremental
them
Well,
progress.
but your answer is always, we can't do anything as a city council. We have no jurisdiction individually. The FAO only talks to us jointly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your answer.
Exactly. You don't
But
like
it's
to hear that.
right.
Okay, to loop us back to the budget.
Go back to
Yeah.
the, well, I mean, I think that's helpful to hear. Maybe we can look at how much time you're spending. And, one idea is like, do we charge the round table for your?
Well, I had suggested that
Right.
before.
Oh, you
that-
have?
That
I mean, the reality is the money's coming out of the same pot, right? So whether it goes to the round table or a cities association, it's really the same money. So that's my, that's my perspective, is like, I don't really care. It's still Andy, and I think we just do need more resources or support. And so do we want to do that or not is the question.
Yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely.
I do agree that there's certain administrative tasks that just doesn't make sense for you to be doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
work that if we had someone at a very entry level
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
can take on, you shouldn't be having to type up minutes, when you could be focusing on appeasing Cupertino.
That's about 25 hours a month.
That's pretty funny.
I mean, that is really the ultimate question. And I mean, I do feel strongly about legal counsel and whatnot,
Yeah.
and having that
And definitely over the last few years,
infrastructure.
we've added a lot more, like the accountant and
Yeah.
other kind of supplemental things that didn't make sense for the director to be doing or focusing, that sort of thing on.
But I think that answers part of your question. For most cities, it's really not a significant amount of money anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think we pay
But-
$14,000, so
Yeah,
if it's 20,
Take it
no
out of
big
petty
deal,
cash,
right?
Yeah.
But I don't understand Los Altos Hills. Like, but clearly from my one conversation,
It's
I
a
think
big
there's
deal.
some question as to what we do. And I mean, it's interesting because Gary Waldeck, before, the former, he was very involved, and he was the airport guy, roundtable guy, and fire suppression. So he got a lot out of it. So I think it depends on the member as well, and that's fine. But I don't think because of this time and on their council, we should necessarily change everything for them if we really think, we're justified in charging what we charge and moving ahead. And
But I guess the fundamental question is, are we okay with them walking away?
well, I guess they have to be a part of the selection committee, so we could bifurcate and just charge them for that.
I know it's just
Right?
ridiculous because they're going to pay that part,
Right.
and just pay the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I mean, the
so
whole-
minimal.
But
I
again,
just
to
don't
Margaret's
get it,
point, it's so council member specific,
Yeah.
right? And maybe there are other members on the council that would be more supportive. I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, this one member said, "Oh, maybe I should start coming," because again, they don't have an alternate, so that
It's just that one person.
individual
Yeah.
could be the alternate, and that might he might be participating more and get more out of it, right? So, yeah, I mean, I learn more about what's going on over there.
Right.
I think there are ways to slice this.
I don't think
so-
that I think that in general, when I send messages to them, I don't think they always go through. I don't think anybody reads them.
I think you're right.
Really?
Yeah.
Because there are two,
Um,
so it's the staffing, which I think we addressed, and then the value of
Yes.
our organization, and how can we, because obviously we add value in many
I
ways.
think so,
How do
yes.
we show our value? So the Peninsula group that we're on, you know, Seth will send the emails. That's how I would learn a lot just from his emails. Like we
Right.
don't, a newsletter. I'm just trying to think, how can we show our value? We
That's
know
a
we
good- that's a
add
good
value,
point.
but are there things we can do to show our value so that the Hills, for example, knows?
Yes.
So I've been slacking a little bit on my newsletter,
Okay.
but I
Not-
use but I do try to send updates after our meetings and things, and just time. There's just not enough time in the day for me.
Right.
Um,
Again,
but
going
it
back to the
is- but it-
staffing concern.
Yeah, but it is a very important piece. But I also I try to communicate directly with the city managers, and then there are other key staff that I communicate a lot with. I always have. I always talk to assistant city managers, but in the case of Los Altos Hills, there hasn't been a lot of participation in where when I communicate or in meetings. So they don't have anybody on the ACM list, and I communicate a lot with the ACMs. I communicate a lot with the city managers. So I mean, I think
Which is
it's-
valuable.
yeah.
Yeah.
What did we accomplish 2019? List it. Like something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do. I mean, I communicate a lot, kind of, don't I?
But don't we have it on the website, our accomplishments?
Yeah, we do.
I think I
And
remember seeing that.
the website, it would be really great. I was kind of wondering if I could get Rod in on helping. When we switched websites, everything didn't get moved over, but that was also on purpose because it was really content heavy and not very readable, and but with one person, it's hard to build that back up. Like if everybody took a topic and a page,
Yeah.
then we could do that.
Sure.
But yeah, that would be another committee.
The accomplishment committee.
On the other hand, I also want to say that in one of the emails from Los Altos Hills, they did suggest that the cities association needed policy analysts and that we needed to hire more people, but they wanted their dues lowered first before we raised dues.
Okay, well, why don't we do that then? Why don't we lower their dues and then
Raise them back up to where they are today.
I think what Margaret wanted me to do was to hold it flat from where they are this year, and then the increase would happen on top of that. So,
Yeah, I would start as them as the bottom and then just tier it upwards if you want to do it by population or whatever. But I wouldn't drop their anyone's fees at this point.
I agree, and I don't think we should support kicking them out of the group as they should be part of this organization.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think, all of us together is
Yeah.
important.
It's stronger,
It
right?
is.
It is, yes.
If anything, we might wanna just do in May for the general meeting, like just all of us make concerted effort to invite all 5 of them so that they know, like, cause I'm wondering if it's specific where, the current representative is not reporting back, and so the others just have no clue.
their members are all. I have everyone's email address, and since when I email those event, I do it via the MailChimp, which I know MailChimp often goes in people's spam. But then I also do regular. I mean, like they receive it multiple ways from me, and but it would be good, I think, that if you did a direct ask.
Yeah, I think that's good. So, I guess just to wrap this up, and we figured it wouldn't be decided today.
Yeah.
We'll probably continue this conversation, but like general
I'm
thoughts
supportive.
going
I'm
forward.
supportive of the idea. I've always thought there's certain tasks that should be moved to someone else that allows you to focus on the larger things. So.
Ditto.
Great.
I am too, but I also like the concept of at least
This airport.
justifying it or showing.
Right.
for sure.
We have to do
Yeah.
for our other.
The value.
Yeah,
Yes,
to
we
sell
have to
it.
show the
The business
right.
case.
You have to. You
The
have
value
to.
of our
Definitely.
organization.
You have to.
Exactly.
The two things: the staffing and the value
I
to
wanna
keep
know-
members engaged.
Yeah, right. Because I want to know what San Jose's getting for our 13,000.
That's right.
$46.27.
Hey, your staff asks me all the time. And you know what I tell them? You get a seat at the table so that everybody can yell at Chappie.
That's right. Hey, that's why we have him here, right?
Because Andy, I'm sure you've done this before, where you document all the things you do on a monthly basis.
Yeah, you guys got that last.
Yeah,
I gave
we
you.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try.
Yeah.
So we can parse out. This is really entry level admin.
Exactly.
So we need staffing for that.
Right.
This is something you really shouldn't be doing. Let's get roundtable staff. Like, and then we have a realistic.
So after after we have a board meeting, basically I spend a week being a clerk. You know, because you have to do the minutes.
Right.
You have
Post
to
everything.
previously, when minutes were passed, when you approved minutes, nothing happened to them. They just ended up in a full. They were.
Yeah.
So I go back and I put what the vote was, and then it goes on the website. That wasn't happening before at all. But then you have to do the minutes. Any actions that are taken.
Which are better now because they're action minutes as opposed
Yes,
Yeah.
and we used to do these long summary minutes, which was easy to send out as a meeting recap. But there's a lot of tedious things that you have to do, and then whatever letters you want sent. It can be, but oftentimes I find, oh crap, I haven't done the minutes yet, and it's, right before the next meeting, and I got to get them done. So, and if I get interrupted that way, then I have to go back and listen. So it is tedious, the work of a clerk. So
Great. Well,
So what do we need to move this forward? A motion?
I
Like,
think
is
I
this a
understand
proposed
your
budget?
direction.
Okay.
Is there on the dues structure? I think that's easy enough that I can just take what they've proposed and you guys will just have options.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what you're thinking of for an admin, like a part-time?
Well, based on the tasks list.
That's the harder
Is
part.
would a part-time be sufficient to make a dent?
Anything would make a dent.
Well,
Yeah.
yes,
so
but
is it like 8 hours a week, 10 hours a week? If you can give us a sense of how much you need time wise.
This is your opportunity. And
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
for
Well,
it.
We might
so
have
there's
to
also
negotiate it,
something
but-
different that could
Yeah.
happen is we find somebody that also can do the bookkeeping as well. And then we don't have a bookkeeper. We have a person who is like an office manager clerk.
Oh yeah.
It just depends on what kind of, and so you have one person doing it all. That's not a bad idea either. I think
Yeah.
it depends on,
what skill set that person
Uh-huh.
has.
Yeah, that's important.
Could you cost it out and think of the different options and then present it to us
Okay.
next time? And then I don't know, do you want to explore this round table end date idea or
Not
no?
at the
You just
moment.
want to leave it? Okay.
Not at the moment.
Okay.
I think it's more important since they're finally getting close to making
Some progress.
progress.
That it
I
go
don't
for.
I don't
Okay.
think to put the scare in them that you have a deadline that it's done I don't think has a lot of value.
Well, not that it's done, but they need to decide, right? They
Oh,
need to
no,
figure out how to
agree,
move
but-
it forward, right? They can't just, assume we're gonna.
Larry
be-
isn't ready for them to come to his meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
I want that to be Marinko's meeting more than anything else. Let's have all 15 reps go to that, or however many reps go to that. Yeah.
Okay.
a bunch of them did go, a bunch of people, members of the round table, and then staff from various jurisdictions went to this conference last week. And it's been kind of interesting too. I've heard from a few of them, but I think it was helpful in helping them figure out how they're going to gel and try to work together. So there might be a little motivation.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I felt really appreciated.
Good. No, thank you.
Yeah.
That's good.
What about legal?
Yeah, well, I guess that would be.
No,
should we
definitely, I
explore?
think there's
Yeah.
value in that.
Okay.
And then I think, I mean, how would it work? We would just pay them as we go, right?
Yeah.
We just-
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's, I mean, that's
And-
what
and-
I do
and
right
we-
Yeah.
And we've done one-off
Or we could
approvals in the
do-
past, you know,
Yeah.
it's good to just put that part of the budget.
Mhm.
That's what we tried to
Yes.
do a few years ago when
Yeah.
we restructured the budget, trying to capture a lot of what we were doing, you know, that we were just kind
Yeah.
of taking for granted. And
Mhm.
it was still coming, it was still be appearing on the final, you know, cost for the year, but we're just calling them off once, you know, approving the same items every year 3 or 4 times.
Have we approached big law firms and maybe doing like an annual pro bono commitment? Because a lot of, as you know, like a lot of big law firms have their own pro bono hour commitment per year. That they're looking for nonprofits and public entities where they can have their associates do a certain number of pro bono hours. Like approaching a big law firm to say, you know, could we get an associate to work with us with a partner supervising?
And that probably goes back,
For you.
the only problem with that, it kind of goes back
We're
to
not sure what we are.
Yes. What is our organizational status?
That is important.
That
We're
is
not a
problem.
nonprofit.
Right. Yes, yes.
We're not even a government
Or-
entity right
yeah.
now.
We either need to be public sector or nonprofit.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but that resolution, I think needs to be there before we start
Yes.
accepting that.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
The more
Which
things
came
change, the
first,
more they
chicken
stay
or
the same.
Yeah. Agenda. Okay, so we'll have a LAC update.
Yep.
Anything hot on?
No, we'll finally do the housing and the transportation, and I have a list of bills, and Valley Waters asked to come to for support for the Anderson Dam, which we didn't get to before.
What kind of
Need
support are
support?
they looking
For
for?
LAC?
It's already,
For LAC or for the
Funding
meeting?
For 10
Pardon?
years.
For either. No, they're looking for, they have a bill.
Isn't it?
to-
Yes.
Oh.
We've already,
Pardon?
Oh.
Is it a House of Representatives bill?
yes, we already wrote,
Yes.
we wrote a letter.
Oh.
Support letter as a city.
Yeah.
Oh, we did it already. Okay.
No,
The
The
city of
city
Sunnyvale
of
did.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
There's a specific ask with a template.
Yeah,
Really?
it's
Oh,
it's
okay.
Interesting. I haven't seen that.
and they have a nice little. I mean, it's a much needed project.
Oh, yeah.
It
Oh,
could,
yeah. Oh,
it
it's
could
gotta be done.
devastate
Yeah.
the valley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so what
kinda
is
need
the bill
water.
language? What is it?
It just is. It's for the
Just
authors
authorize it?
authorizing it, and they also
Okay.
have a couple asks in it about CEQA. There's a timeline, so I don't know CEQA very well, so Kent might be able to help me. But like when stadiums have been built, they put in a provision
Yeah.
that there's a deadline for CEQA and responding,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're asking for that as well. They're like, well, if a stadium can get it, you know, this is really public safety.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're trying to put it on like a fast track, if you will. right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's
Good,
there
they
is
should.
there is nothing. They have a really quick presentation. They have like a little video that shows how the area would be devastated if something happened, and
well, they already
Um,
did, but the feds came down and said they had to drain the dam.
yes,
oh,
right.
Completely.
But
It's the-
AB
it's the
3000,
replacement
or
dam.
sorry,
Yeah.
Trying to
3004.
Get
Right.
that project going.
yes,
But as far as devastation, there's not gonna.
yeah. There won't be any devastation anymore, so never mind.
We'll still support.
Yeah. It's just we need,
Yeah, how long
we
wa-
need it replaced so we can have some water.
Right, right.
So do you want the presentation, or do you
Yes.
Yeah,
do you want it in the
Like
board
that's-
meeting or in the LAC meeting?
or both.
It's a pretty big deal.
So we could do it at your the bigger meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
Get a bigger audience.
because they want resolutions. It
Right.
actually, it might, it's
I don't
probably.
have to do it twice.
Right,
Just-
well, it might be good to have a quick discussion whether or not the organization, but at the end of the day, the board should write a letter.
Right.
You know, since it's Assemblymember Rivas's bill, he's never come to any of our events. Should we invite one of his staff to come too?
Yeah,
I don't know. Good idea.
that's a good idea.
I like that.
I'm impressed you knew who
I know.
Rivas was.
He's new.
Who was Rivas?
Yeah,
He's
it's
new,
not me.
and I don't think we've made any inroads in the meeting. Morgan Hill's rep,
Yep.
Still
so
running
they are
right now.
part of.
They're one of the 50.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's our value. So 3 other things that came up. So we would do the housing, the transportation position papers, the valley presentation. And then members had requested adding these 3 things to future meetings. One, the AB 725 ADUs. I was planning to do just a quick overview because I think it was the representative from Los Altos Hills who had asked about that. So I think it would be very helpful for us to have some information for her on it.
Okay.
So just, I will do that.
So you can see
perfect.
Value.
There you go.
Sure.
There you
You
go.
ask
We'll
and
put
we
it on the
deliver.
list, yeah.
for $6,520.13.
There you go.
Yes.
It's the value. And then faster, someone had asked to have Carl be a speaker at one of our future meetings.
So Carl is on here for
Okay.
our board meeting.
Oh, for the board meeting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last one I have is the public safety. I can't remember her name. Council member.
Public safety.
Carmen. She's also an
Montano.
Montano. Public safety. She wanted us to talk about the
right.
new public safety. She wanted to get it on our agenda, which basically downgrades some of the nonviolent crimes. Remember, she asked for that. So,
So the county, I'm going to check in with the county because I saw Danielle Christian and she had some information about
that'd be
that.
good because
Right.
Carmen asked for that.
Yeah, I remember
Okay.
that was re-reform.
Yes,
Okay.
from the
Like
Prop
that.
47.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, yes. So those were
Form.
the 3
Form, right?
specific requests from members.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Valley Water will be there. How long do they need, they think?
They told me 5 minutes, so what does that mean, 15?
Well, if they have,
I
if they
bet our
have, if
members.
they have a neat video, that's.
The video's like a minute.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we'll do 15.
Okay.
So Carl will present at the board meeting on
Right.
Faster. Okay.
Cool.
If that's what you say.
Yeah.
Sure.
See, we're being responsive
for
to our member
20.
requests.
Exactly.
There you go.
So Carl. How,
So ABAG
oh, yeah,
asked for an
ABAG.
hour
What?
on the RENA methodology.
Yep.
You think it's
An hour?
You don't need an hour, and they did it for us. It's the same presentation that they did at the Peninsula event.
Oh, okay.
And how
That
long?
wasn't an hour.
No.
We gave them 15 minutes.
But how many questions resulted
Actually,
from
we
that?
did get a lot of questions.
That's the whole thing. Is it like 30 minutes?
Yeah, but they don't need an hour.
No,
Yeah.
that's okay.
30
Yeah,
minutes?
they're doing the road trip
That's
where they're
good.
trying to bring that presentation to all the different local
Okay.
groups.
Can't believe they asked for an hour and I fell for it.
No, they can ask. Anybody
Okay,
can ask.
budget not ready for prime
Wait,
time.
And SVLG faster. So faster.
Mhm.
How long does Carl?
What's he gonna say?
20 minutes.
Yeah, he gets to the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
That's
it's more
good.
the questions and answers.
Yeah.
And you also have to remember too, the average adult has the attention span of 2 minutes.
So 10 minutes for Carl?
Do
I mean,
20.
I
Well, I guess it
have
depends on
1
what
minute.
he's
Yeah.
Do 20.
asking, right?
not-
Yeah,
That's
20 is
all right.
good.
Yeah.
But where is it?
Okay.
He's not asking for an endorsement, is he?
Mm-mm. I don't think it's,
Like if it's it's dead, then it'll be 5 minutes. But it depends really what his.
I'll check
Angle
back in
is.
with him and ask him how much time he thinks he needs.
Okay.
What else would you like to, got a short meeting here for you.
Woohoo.
That's-
Budget. We don't know. Budget
We
is
don't,
10
that it's
minutes.
not, that, no, we won't
Oh.
talk about budget because it's not ready.
If you get us out early, that's not. That's
Yeah.
it.
No,
I think-
I know.
And so we have another place to meet next week. We won't be meeting in here. Jackie found us another room.
It's at the community center.
Oh, okay.
I think the thinking was it's just a bigger room and you guys can spread out a little bit more. You can get arm's
Chatty.
length.
Social disbursement, is that what you're
Yeah.
So
calling it?
it's at the Sunnyvale Community Center in Remington.
Okay.
It's nice.
And that's for next meeting.
The next
next
meeting.
meeting.
I'll send everyone, yep.
Pick up the
Because
Mm.
what's in here or?
No, nothing, it's just, it's
Just
a larger
bigger
room.
So
You
we
can,
don't
you
have
can
to-
do
So
a
that-
table setup
We're
that's,
supposed to spread out.
Oh, we're going to
bigger
do
than
the,
us.
so
If
it's
you
gonna
like
be the,
this.
it's gonna be the circular one like we had.
I think, you can do tables in a square and then if you're all the way around.
Yeah.
I mean, I already
Is that okay?
Get a little,
fine.
and,
I mean-
Yeah.
you guys, well, we're offering that if you prefer.
If you
or
don't want
can,
to
but
and you
we-
wanna meet in here.
Just trying
Well,
to be
I
thoughtful.
feel
Thank
right
you.
now that Larry is way too close.
Let me move over here. Is that better? Are you happy now?
Yesterday they had yardsticks.
Seriously?
They had yardsticks to like keep people.
Don't encourage.
Yeah, it's supposed to be what, 3 feet?
No, they're doing it at schools too. They have the
Wingspan,
kids.
right?
Yeah, wingspan, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we all are in a higher. Well, are you 50 yet?
I will be.
You will be. So you're not at high
That
risk
side
yet.
of the table.
That's
Sit really close together.
I
I think this side is all high risk.
Hey,
I
I
have-
have this side.
You're at that end, all by your side. We're
I
over
have-
here. We should be as far away as
You have
possible.
quorum, right? You don't need me.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
Thank you.
Go.
Okay, see
Um,
you next week.
Bye.
Anything else? Okay.
Anything that, so we're short on meeting, well, not that we need to fill the 2 hours, but we had some ongoing, we were looking for presentations for Measure A or,
Oh yeah,
different
we can
reps.
ask some of our folks to come in and give MTC, ABAG, your reps. Yeah, who would you like to hear from?
So
If you give me priority, and then I can just go through and find who can come. So
Measure A is making some decisions or has recently made decisions. Do you know? Does anybody know?
So is that Glenn?
Is this
Glenn.
One's on the oversight
Yeah.
committee.
Right, and I know that they were about to, so that to me would be timely if the decisions were just made or what the criteria is. I think that's valuable. MTC and ABAG, we're already, if RENA sub-region, if RENA allocation is a big thing, they're already there.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's more, I think it's.
you could hear from the round table.
Actually,
Yeah.
that would actually be
that's not-
worthwhile.
Well, Mary Lynn would be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, ask Mary Lynn, because it would be good, I read through the minutes, but I don't get a picture of what's happening at the meetings and kind of lose, you don't see the full perspective of progress.
So they
Since we've talked
just-
about progress in here tonight.
Just so you know, they just elected a new chair. Well, they re-elected Mary Lynn to be chair again.
Okay.
And there's a new vice chair. The vice chair is Ed Bodorf from Capitola.
Huh.
And the motion was made that trying to have a geographically diverse group and trying to make sure that Santa Cruz is participating in the leadership as well.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that would make sense.
Glenn almost became a chair, but he decided he didn't want to be chair. He wanted to be an agitator.
Okay, I can see Glenn saying that.
I thought it was pretty.
Yeah.
I was just going to look at the selection committee and see if there's somebody else you guys wanted to hear from, or the appointees.
Right.
LAFCO. Oh, that
Actually,
seated
Oh.
that
decision.
LAFCO is up. It has to be
That's
reappointed in April.
Okay.
And
Yeah, let's make sure we don't miss a city selection thing here.
no, I've
Talk to Rod and ask him if he wants to do.
Backman.
Yeah, because they've done some things recently. I know Semidian was supposed to have he just
And Rod
had-
is actually coming too. On
Yeah. Actually, that might be a good time. That might be good timing
he's chair now.
because there was all these outreach meetings that happened February 14th
That's right,
to update
with
on
the
Lehigh,
Lehigh. Yeah.
and
And
there
then
were
There's
that was the
the-
same night as this meeting
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, that would be good
Yeah,
if we could.
and there's Z-waste of
Right.
issues and mobitas, so yeah.
So
Yeah.
how much time would you want him to have in? Because that seems like a lot of topics.
25 minutes, 20 minutes.
So I'll tell him 15.
Yeah, 20 minutes, because I think
Yeah.
getting an update on that would actually be worthwhile,
Okay.
because some decisions were made and they're changing. I've gotten a lot of resident emails. I'm trying to end the next
So how would you like this prioritized? BACMed first, or Measure A, or
Backman.
okay, and then Measure A,
Yeah.
or
And actually, then airplane noise. I don't think Measure A, they're about to make some decisions, and so it's probably better to define after from Glenn after they make those decisions.
So if you have an update on the roundtable, do you want to have any discussion about what we've talked about here? Okay. Just want to make sure that
no.
I
Yeah, I think
notice
it's-
everything correctly.
Correct. Just to talk about what
Okay.
what progress they've made, and you can talk to Mary Lynn about that
Okay,
and what their goals are for the upcoming months.
okay.
And we'll work on the final. And we also don't forget subcommittee.
Yes.
Chairs. Okay. Anything else? I think we are done. Oh, executive director report that we haven't talked about.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think I had a list at home, but
Okay.
I think
With
I'm
that,
good.
Any members of the public
Yeah.
want to speak?
no.
Are
We
you
will
guys
now-
coming to our League of Cities event that
Yes.
at Winchester Mystery?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that would be fun.
That's being canceled, right?
I was gonna
Because
say-
we're not
Are we
supposed.
canceling it?
We're not supposed to
Oh.
get together. This is the
That's
whole.
right.
This is the whole thing.
We
Everything
haven't-
for the next month is
Although
supposed to be
It hasn't
canceled.
been
apparently the
announcement of
state
that, but others
Department
it
of Health
is.
says it's okay.
It
So
is
like our
a
chamber is
concern.
doing their dinner tonight
Really?
based on State of California Department of Health.
I'm sorry, what was that? I
the
missed
name?
that.
So the Department of Health for the state of
Mhm.
California says that large gatherings are okay. So our chamber was deciding,
Yeah.
and
All right.
they're doing the dinner tonight.
So
So
who
it's
follows?
interesting that they
State
say they
or the
want
county?
it. Right.
Should be
Yeah.
following.
The county
We should be
will-
following the
The
county.
county is-
as
The county
they
is
provide
pretty
service.
clear.
Jeffrey, we should
Yeah.
check in with Seth, what we should do.
You should
It
bring
would
that
be
up.
our call to.
Yeah, it's your call. It's
It's
definitely
your
your call to
call,
council.
yeah.
So
The reason
Kent
why
told me
Kent
that they just created, they have an arbitrary number, like events less than
50.
50.
Anything over 50 should be canceled according to the county.
Mhm.
And the meeting, and so there's a call at 2:00. The reason why Kent wasn't here at the beginning of this meeting
Mhm.
was
There's
he
like
was
4
he
more
was meeting
cases.
he was meeting with
Oh, there are
staff
4 more?
to
Yeah, it's
basically
like 24.
to basically cancel all the events until the end of April, all the outreach events until the end of April.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, end of April.
Okay, so but
Yeah.
I'll,
For
when I
our-
get
for our
back,
city.
I'll
They
send
said end
Seth
of
a note.
March.
Well,
And then
We've been
we don't see that it's going to
canceling all of our community meetings.
Yeah.
Cancel my office hours.
outreach.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
but
50 and
that's-
above.
Yeah,
Our-
we're
You have,
supposed to go to
you have more than
NLC.
50 people at your
Yeah, cancel that
neighborhood
trip.
The leadership
coffees?
group canceled their
You
housing
have more
trust
than
briefing
50
on
people showing
Friday.
up to your
Yeah.
neighborhood.
And I'm wondering
I
if
could have,
Carl
like,
will
20
cancel
Oh,
the
good.
25.
the transportation.
Did you learn,
chapter.
was there anything good in the city manager call
Yeah.
that you were
Yeah,
on?
I see about something.
Probably likely.
Okay,
So,
everybody's,
so basically
impressive.
50 and above we should cancel is the advice that was given today?
No, I wouldn't say that was the advice that was given. I heard that on the elected officials' call with the county health department, they gave a number of over 100 they recommended canceling, and
Okay.
below 100, you should seriously think about it.
It's
50.
how small the room is.
Mhm.
My office hours
That's part of it.
are in a very small room, and I could have,
20.
15, 20
Wow,
people in
that's
a
really-
small.
Mhm.
They
small
listed
room.
several factors, and room size was one of them. In other words, the closeness or the
Space.
proximity of people.
Right.
If it's
Okay.
at-risk people like seniors, again, you're gonna use more
yes.
caution.
Which I get a lot of
And,
those.
you know, 50 was a guideline that we are using in Sunnyvale for gatherings, for public gatherings. Above that, we're planning to cancel, events until the end of April. And below that, we're giving discretion to our department directors to hold it, reschedule it, do it, see if there are options for electronic, communication meetings, and so there's some discretion.
Okay. Were you going to NLC? Were you planning?
I wasn't, but the 3 from my council have left. So
Oh.
they're headed out.
All 3 of ours canceled.
Oh, really?
Or
Even-
both of
even
ours
Nancy?
canceled. Nancy's staying.
Oh,
Nancy
wow.
canceled.
Someone was
Russ
asking me. Oh,
Russ
yeah,
canceled.
Nancy was asking whether
Yeah.
it's essential.
so there was a lot of conversation about what essential is and what is not essential.
Actually,
Eh.
this probably should be part of the agenda. We'll talk for next week.
Okay,
Yeah, we.
Whether or not we should
do you want to have,
Well, I'm wondering, like, our general.
Do you wanna have-
If it goes till May, right?
I,
We're gonna
I
have to make
think
a call
I
on our
think to
general
have all of
meeting.
our cities in the room, at least a rep, it's good for a good 20-minute discussion. just to talk about what cities are doing and
That's a good idea.
just
Yeah.
and just to alleviate fears and what the standard, don't panic, don't buy out Costco, there's all these things that it's like just to kind of reaffirm
Toilet paper.
what the right process is and maybe reach out to somebody from
Maybe
the county to
yeah,
say
the Department
you
of
have
Health folks.
that's worth 20 minutes.
Yeah, actually, that's a
That's
good
really
idea.
important.
I just want somebody to explain to me, I understand the hand sanitizer, but rice and the toilet paper.
Chicken, Costco
And Tito's
chicken.
vodka.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes more sense to me.
Yeah, I can understand that part, but
Whole chickens were all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
So did you see the video that I
Okay,
posted?
that's like salmonella.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah. Anyway.
Facility,
So I think that's important.
Okay,
Ed.
I got it.
yeah.
See if the county can send somebody. I know that they're doing these updates and all this other
That's a
stuff,
good one,
but
yeah.
but just having a quick, it's actually more worthwhile than probably almost everything we
And
list there.
I will follow Sunnyvale's lead if something happens between now and then and making a decision of canceling a meeting,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's fascinating from the school side, if, the class has more than 10 absent, then we have to call, they have to call the families and say, give me your symptoms.
Wow.
Really?
Because they're thinking now if there's 10 kids in a class, it's a cluster.
Oh.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, let's go ahead.